Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Friday Night Magic at Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia. My name is Zachary Evans. I'm joined, as always, by Michael Taylor.
That's me.
And as we see, the most important thing of all, it's starting off strong. I can't even speak, and we're 10 seconds in, but that was scissors beating paper, right?
I believe so.
Right, which will be very important. They're right into it. They are right into it. We are running slightly behind here, but first round tonight we have Max Turner on the right, who is playing an Elves deck, which I believe is like that combo version with Make a Million Mana, and then he is playing Michael Bumgardner, Stephen Bumgardner, on the right, who is playing, I don't know, Black White Tokens. It's low key tonight. Running behind. I feel so like I feel so like out of my element because no matter what, I just keep throwing wolf tokens up there. But tonight we have, as you can see at the bottom, we have electronic life total technology. All right. So anyway. Oh my goodness, this is like the worst possible way to start this broadcast. Anyway, so Michael is playing a black-white tokens deck, it looks like, and Max is playing this. Yeah, I've played against this deck before. It has Green Suns in it. I think he's just getting his last hurrah with Green Sun. Max used to play Elves in Legacy, so he likes himself some Green Suns units. But basically the deck he's running now is just all the mana guys. He is playing these Yevas, which are pretty functional in the deck he's playing, and then just Archdruids, and then eventually he has more than you can deal with.
Yeva seems like a card that it's not seen as much play as I thought it was going to. It might see some more play next block.
I think like the problem with it right now is that the best green decks have like better things to do at 4, because the best green decks are also white decks, and it fights with Angels. And I think Angels is good, but I mean, as a one-of, it's certainly a powerful effect. So as we see, Bumgardner lands, he casts the first half of Lingering Souls and then a Timely.
So he's probably not playing Day of Judgment.
I don't think he is.
So it's probably fairly safe for Max just to run all his elves out there.
Is Max playing Day of Judgment?
Seems unlikely.
Seems unlikely. I agree.
Yeah, but Stephen, I doubt he's playing it either. Which, I think that gives Max
we actually saw that
freedom just to run all his elves out there.
We actually saw that last week when Brett was playing the tokens deck against Jeremy Bales, who was playing the humans deck, and he brought that in. That is an Elder Scale Worm, and I can guarantee you that there's a distinct possibility that Stephen Bumgardner does not have a card in his deck that can handle that.
O-Ring's the only thing I can think of, but I don't know if he's running it.
Yeah, that was why I said I didn't think there's a distinct possibility, because I'm not sure if he has it in his deck or not.
And even if he has it in his deck, is he going to draw it in time?
We are getting a considerable more amount of glare this week than I usually get. My extremely high-tech glare deferral system, which is that box in the top left that you can see, the box top that's on its end, doesn't seem to be doing its job. So at this point, Bumgardner's got like a ton of gas, but like he just can't get through that Elder Scale Worm, right? Now, how does Elder Scale Worm, how is it worded? Can you...
I think it's a replacement effect. I think it says if an effect would reduce your life total to below 7, and instead reduces it to 7. So I don't think getting in there for an Alpha Strike doing 7 damage all at once will get past it.
Well, he just Genesis waved, I think, for like about 11.
Steven has a lot of blockers out there, though. He's got 20 power worth of tokens out there.
I literally think Max hit everything off that. So there's one Archdruid, a Garruk, Slime. So all of his elves are 3/3s now. The only thing he missed on was an extra copy of Garruk. You're living the high life when the only thing you hit off of miss off an 11 card Genesis Wave is a Planeswalker that you already have in play.
Genesis Wave might be the only Is that the only non-permanent in his deck?
I don't, like I said, I don't know if he's playing Green Sun Zenith or not. I think he is. I know he's also playing Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah, that would...
He would just win here, I think.
Yeah,
right?
that would be...
Does it give them all trample, or just +X/+X?
It gives them all trample. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, if he untaps and plays a Behemoth, that's game over.
We're really going to have to sort out the glare situation. Oh, he also has a Cave Sun. That seems a little greedy, but what am I saying? So you can see in Bumgardner's hand he's got another Anthem effect. He's an Honor of the Pure. Not nearly as good as Virtue. I'm always amazed at how good Virtue is in terms of when it gives it Vigilance. It just changes the race math so much.
Yeah.
And we've seen Brett do that the last 2 weeks, where just the fact that he can get in incremental amounts of damage but not have to sacrifice any chump blockers is pretty fortunate. So
yeah.
Yeah, we're doing the combat mat.
Is he just swinging with everything? I don't think he played a Behemoth, did he?
No, I think he is. I think that's what Bumgardner's reading.
Okay. Yep, that's it.
That will do it. All right. Well, you kids talk amongst yourselves while they sideboard. I'm going to go out and attempt to see. We've got all this technology here to keep all these things in front of me. But I should have remembered that I had this before JV said round 1 pairings are up. So Max goes 1 game to the good. I'm going to step out briefly and try and rectify this glare situation. So, bear with me.
There's no answer for that 7-7. I was until he dropped it.
That help any? I did move the camera slightly to see if I could get a better angle.
Yeah, you can see the life totals a little better now.
All right. I think I have rectified the situation. I make no promises.
Pretty sure I overheard Steven saying that he has no answer to that worm.
Yeah, I told him he was just supposed to race, but as he pointed out, he was racing until the point where he got crushed. So I don't know exactly what his game plan should be in this situation, but surely he'll figure something out. But while they are sideboarding, I would like to mention everyone that we are currently at Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia, one of 4 convenient locations. So we, as always, like to thank them for allowing us to hijack their FNM and put it up on the internet. So if you're ever in the area, please patronize one of their 4 locations. And as we'll discuss later, they are hosting this year's West Virginia State Tournament. So thank you, Lost Legion. Their website, lostlegiongames.com. Like I said, Max is mulliganing. Alright, so most importantly, I want to point out that I have gone back through all of the archived footage, and we started doing this 3 weeks ago in the finals. And these are accurate lifetime totals for
Excellent.
rock, paper, scissors. At one point when it's like 20 to 20 to 20, do we stop doing that?
I don't think we ever stop. I think that's why the viewers are tuning in,
Hmm.
is to keep up with the counts. I mean, I think if we stop doing that,
I think you're probably right. So what does that Bumgardner play? The Doom Traveler? So this is like the best possible start for Maxx, because now he's going to untap, and he's going to have access to likely 6 mana.
yeah.
Bumgardner plays what is most likely an irrelevant timely reinforcements, right?
Is Maxx running Primeval Titan?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't think he is.
That would probably be the ideal play.
I played
on
against
turn
this
3 with 6
exact
mana.
deck last week, and I cannot for the life of me remember what's in it. Okay, well, he didn't cast anything, so that either means he has a Yeva in hand, or he just doesn't have a very good draw.
Steven, on the other hand, seems to have
He has
pretty good draw.
Yeah, so he did have Yeva, but I don't think it's really going to matter at this point. I mean, if Steven untaps and plays like an Anthem effect,
Is the Yeva an elf?
no, it's like a... Well, we'll find out when he casts something. 1, 2,
Cage Sun.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, she has to be an elf, otherwise Max just cheated. So Cage Sun, how many of those is he playing?
I would hope not too many.
It seems like a really awkward spot on the curve. Like you can't attack with a Cage Sun, and there it is.
Once you've ramped into
he just slams the...
6 or more mana, you want to be getting your big dudes out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess he probably could drop a Crater Hoof next turn.
Mm-hmm. He's going to have to do something, because there's 8 creatures on the other side of the table.
And
all of which are 2/2s.
Yeah, there's an Anthem out there, yeah.
That's literally lethal. That's another thing I've noticed. I say literally way too much. The first 3 weeks I said in a world where, or in a perfect world, about every 4th sentence. I also noticed lately I'm saying literally way too much. I believe I'm using it correctly every time. But, so Genesis Wave for 5, taking 4. I think this is a pretty optimistic Genesis Wave. But I guess a Spider. That's surely a sideboard card.
There's his Behemoth.
Yeah, but he misses. Behemoth costs too much.
But
he does get the Slime, which takes out the Anthem. Does get another Elf and a Silklash Spider, which means
if he had any mana open, he could wipe out those spirits.
Is that the one you can activate for like a Hurricane?
Yeah.
Type effect.
Which, I guess, since he got rid of the Anthem, he should live to the next turn.
He should.
And if he can keep spirits off the board with that Spider, then he stands a pretty good chance of stabilizing. I thought he was scooping up his cards for a second.
I thought he was tapping them all for something cost 6, and then I was trying to figure out what cost 6. Is that a Virtue in his hand or another Doom Traveler? I mean...
I think if he had a Virtue, he would just kind of slam that down.
He's got to get in there, because that Spider's going to kill all of his ground dudes, right?
Yeah, and then it can block anything on the ground he swings with.
Interesting.
How many cards does Maxx hold in 2? I think with the extra land he got out there, and the extra Elves, if he can cast another Genesis Wave, it should be pretty ridiculous.
So he does get in there with the Flyers.
Loses 1 to reach.
Well, you have to do that. They're just gonna get murdered. So
yeah.
Use the Lightning Bolt while you can. So Maxx has access to unlimited mana, and there's so many cards in this deck that just win the game for him. Crater Hoof wins it literally. Right. I said it again.
Here comes something big.
It's another wave.
I hope so. That would be hilarious.
It's more fun for us, right?
Yeah.
So far, in the 2 weeks I've been doing a highlight of the week, Maxx has done all the highlights. Oh, God. How much was it for? 19?
And some absurd amount.
Like, all he has to do is flip 1 Crater Hoof, and then, like, the game's pretty much...
it seems pretty unlikely.
Academic. Well, there's a worm that... Yeah. Sometimes it just...
It basically just needed the worm or the Crater Hoof to end it.
Yeah. Sometimes it just works out like that.
And when you're flipping over half of what's left in your deck.
Yeah. It cannot go much better than that. Let's take a brief tour around to make sure all of our make sure all of our technologies are working. We are now, as I explained to you, Michael, we now have a Facebook page. So just go to, I don't have a link up to it because I literally just started that. But we now have Facebook presence. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitch. We're in the public consciousness at this point.
We're plugged in.
We're
on the grid.
Taking names.
In the World Wide Web.
Well, so that ended pretty quickly. So, as we now switch to, let's all cross our fingers and hold our breath as I switch the studio cam and hope that my computer doesn't crash.
And there we go. Computer's trying to crash. Or I'm just a really good ventriloquist.
The question is, I think it just can't handle the resolution, maybe?
Possibly.
That's very disappointing.
It seemed to be working fine a while ago.
It was working fine.
But we weren't also streaming.
Yes. So
it's kind of like one of
that's
those
unfortunate.
Sesame Street like montages where it's like still image after still image while somebody voices over a story.
Let's try again. Well, I don't know what's going on there. I think maybe we just might be at the limitations of this computer, which is unfortunate, so I'll try and work that out shortly. But
maybe we should set up a donation page.
Yeah, if anyone would like to contribute to this, so
somebody wants to buy us
so I can get a better camera for in here, I would love that. But we don't need this necessarily to work to do what I have planned for our interstitial content for the evening, which is to discuss. So today's the last day of Standard. Literally the last night of Standard at 12 o'clock tonight. It's new sets.
You want to move somebody else over?
Nah. We got other stuff going on.
Alright, I'm going to turn this on and talk to you.
Okay. We have... that's very frustrating why it's doing that. I'll have to take it down here shortly, but Maxx is coming in, since obviously he is very free at the moment, because he just won in about 6 seconds. But, so, last Standard, it's been a year, and in that year we have seen a lot of different deck archetypes, and while this is not going to be nearly as cool because the camera is not working, you know what, just bear with us. I'm going to try and fix this camera. I'm running with the devil, I know, but why won't it work?
Oh man, it caught me mid-blink. Look how unhappy I look.
Alright,
okay.
So, like...
Alright.
We might be a little bit...
a little bit of a delay here.
Alright, this is clearly better than it was, so we'll just run with it. So if it looks like we're in a bad Chinese movie, then I apologize, but like I said, if anyone would like to contribute so that I can get a better web camera or a laptop that I don't have to split between work and here. But anyway, this is Michael Taylor. My name is Zachary Evans. Maxx Turner will join us shortly, but I thought it would be a fun exercise to go through and look at what has Standard looked like in the past 1 year in as best I can chronological order, starting with the same thing that always happens. I imagine it will happen to a certain extent next week as well, or in 2 weeks when state tournaments come around. What deck do people play in a brand new format? What deck is it always?
Mono red.
It's always mono red, and it was the exact same thing back in. I mean, we can't have just like 8,000 people in here.
No, you're out. Good.
I mean, we're, like, this is live on the internet. Like, we have stuff planned, so it's not just like happy meet and greet time. So.
We'll get out of your head.
No, it's not fine. But we were talking about. So we got new Standard coming up in 2 weeks, right? And we were going through the history of Magic, the last year of Standard. So, it's telling Michael the same thing that always happens is, it comes to state tournament, nobody knows what to play, nobody knows what decks look like, so they play red decks.
Even if there's like 5 red cards, people will make a red deck.
It was not a good red deck back then too, because you lost Lightning Bolt. Like there was no one could decide. People were playing Gutshot's main.
Yeah.
Gutshot is they're playing Gutshot's main and Geist Flame's main, which are 1 damage spells.
Goblin Guide was gone.
You lose Goblin Guide, you lose Lightning Bolt, but I mean...
Should Koth.
Yeah, you had Koth, and you still had Chandra's Phoenix, and you had stuff like that. The main thing they lost was another card that people forget is you lost Ember Hauler, which was a huge boon for the old red decks. But this could have easily been Chandra's Phoenix. It could have been Stromkirk Noble. Any of those cards. It all represented a deck that won the first Star City, of that time. It was in top 8s at every state tournament. I have no doubt that, in 2 weeks there will be iterations of the red deck. There will be Rakdos Shred Freaks, and there will be whatever the devil is, the Unleash 2/2 guy.
They won't technically be mono red, but they'll be in the same line of thinking.
They'll be playing the red half. And also, you lose Lightning Bolt, you lose Incinerate, but you do still have Searing Spear, as bad as it is. And you also pick up Bump in the Night, which I think is interesting because previously you didn't have a mana base that could support that.
Yeah.
But now with Dragon Skull Summits and Blood Crypts.
And even though it's a lot of mana, I've always thought it was a little underrated because you're essentially getting 6 life out of one card.
So,
You have Black Cleaves and Dragon Skulls now, though.
No, you're going to lose Black Cleave.
I mean, you could have played both.
Oh.
yeah, you could have, but right now you have better cards. You have Chandra's Phoenix, you have...
Lavamancer.
Well, actually, yeah, Lavamancer. Actually, much the reason why Michael and I are sitting in here right now is because red cards aren't playable.
Yeah.
Because if red cards were playable, we would be out there trying our best to win packs of Magic cards.
I don't think I've played red since Goblins had Ember Holler.
Yeah, I never played red actually. I always played goblins in the Zendikar standard. But anyway, the thing about Bump of the Night is like Bump of the Night is like a functionally better Lava Spike, and people play Lava Spike in Legacy and in Modern. So if it's good enough for those formats, then a strictly better Lava Spike is probably good for Standard, especially when you lose all that burn.
And yeah, if you're playing a dedicated burn / aggro, try to goldfish them down deck, you want all your cards to give you at least 3 damage minimum.
Is Brimstone Volley going to make a comeback?
Yeah, I think it's the best burn spell that you have now. It was pretty good to begin with, but I think it's probably going to end up in the red part of a Jun Zombies list.
Oh, it's an amazing finisher.
It's a good card,
Beat it.
but it was all people could talk about for the first 2 weeks of Standard. The other deck that basically the only deck that immediately ported from Old Standard back when it rotated was Tempered Steel. If you remember, Tempered Steel was what the Channel Fireball team played when they went to Worlds that year. Basically, it was the same shell, Glint Hawks and Glint Hawk Idols and Midnights and Signal Pass. What did it really pick up from the new set? I can't really remember much.
Not very much.
I mean, it's basically just playing a Scars block deck.
Yeah.
Dispatch for removal. I played Hero of Bladehold, I think. I think the guys for Channel Fireball played Moorland Haunt for some value.
Yeah.
Shrine was already in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, played Shrine. Some of them played Shrine of Loyal Legions because they are artifact creatures. But we haven't seen Timbered Steel in a long time. But it was definitely something that was.
Should have brought that back tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a swan song. This is the night before pre-release is always a swan song deck.
That's why I'm bringing Elves.
I saw that. So.
Yeva.
So now this is all still around in the States in the post-States time, and the next deck was like the first deck that actually showed up based purely on new cards, which was, I guess, an old port from an old deck in terms of naming convention. It was Solar Flare.
That was the Ravnica deck too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it just refers to, Solar Flare in general just refers to any control-ish or mid-range type deck that relies on a graveyard-based combo as its win. But it was the printing of this card that made Liliana of the Veil go from like $30 to like $60 for about 2 or 3 weeks. Basically, the chain that we're all very familiar with now: cast an early Phantasmal Image or discard it to a Liliana activation, and then eventually either hardcast or reanimate a Sun Titan, and then get another Sun Titan, and get another Sun Titan.
Yeah, think about how much better the Solar Flare deck is now than it was then.
Yeah, I mean, you have Elish. Well, I mean, I guess they're always reanimating Elishanor, and now you have access to Grizzlebrand. The control cards are just better. They reprinted O-Ring, so I mean, you do have.
Just the Sun Titan image thing is obscene.
Oh, are you comparing it to that Ravnica deck?
Yeah, like all you could get in was what Angel Despair. And you talking about
yeah, Angel Despair is pretty good.
You're glad to have it.
But I mean, they're still playing this deck, and this is actually one of the decks. Like Solar Flare actually ports directly over into the newer standard. So it's a deck you're definitely going to see. I guess people still play Solar Flare, but I guess more Frights is more popular.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how Frights takes off after you lose
What's
all
the
of your
new
mana
Angel?
cost.
Is it Angel of Serenity, something like that?
The one that's
Exiles 3.
yeah, it exiles 3 creatures from graveyards or from play.
A lot of buzz around that card.
Yeah, it's a very good reanimation target because not only is it a beater and it has evasion, but it basically can remove up to three creatures from their board, and then you're playing Fright, so you're playing a graveyard-based deck to begin with. You can rebuy your own milled cards for value. I mean, you look at the current Frights deck. It's got 8 creatures in it that it never wants to go to the graveyard in the mana accelerant. So.
And it's very good in multiples too.
Yeah, it is. It's not legendary, and it is very good.
Do you think that Frights or Solar Flares will be more popular after?
I'm not good enough in Magic to know the answer to that question. I'm not sure that there will be a Frights deck as we know it in the new standard.
I believe Solar Flares will still be there because you'll have access to
Yes.
White Wrath.
I do know that there will be a lot of decks excited to see Liliana and the Veil back because they'll just be pitching Loxodon Smiters to him all day. But
I just want to Forbidden Alchemy and then turn 4 out of Arrowhead's Brand.
You would want to do that.
That seems really strong right now. Something to do. Because the burn deck's just going to die when you gain 7 life in return.
All right, so Unburial Rights was the linchpin of the first new deck, and another deck that took off was Tokens. I know for anyone familiar with West Virginia states, current state champion Davey Newman played this deck to the title last year. Our own Hunter Sumter top-aided states last year with green-white tokens. It was very popular at the time. It was tokens and Solar Flare and Mono Red. That was what the metagame was in the West Virginia states. It was very clearly those 3 decks, and then everything else was far behind. But this deck, I mean, we watched Brett Rose win the FNM last week with it. I mean, this card just gives so much reach to these, all these little enablers, gather the townsfolk, Midnight Haunting, Lingering Souls, all the shrines.
So many different deck types play it. Like Pods played it. Just the Naiad.
Yeah, it's the absolute definition of like that value card. You can play a copy of it in any green-white deck. It rarely affects your mana base if you're just playing one of them, and it just gives you so much reach at the end.
Makes all your mana producers into legitimate threats too.
It's actually an interesting card. It's even made its way into some kind of now out-of-date modern decks because it resets persist on Kitchen Finks. So it's a nice little incidental thing there. And in the old Malira pod decks, I know those have lost a lot of their glamour now because the Restoration Angel and Kiki Jiki decks it's just clearly better. I think it's just there's more redundant pieces, and it's just a better beatdown deck. So
I remember that Wolfram was the big lane of that set, and it turned out to be 50-50.
Yeah.
Township shown itself to be the best one.
And I think there's still going to be a tokens. I mean, you lose some of the enablers, like we talked with Brett last week, but you still have your Midnight Hauntings, your Lingering Souls. You still have Parallel Lives, and now you have Populate mechanic. So you've got things like Armada Worm. I mean, can you imagine Parallel Lives and then an Armada Worm? That might not be standard playable. I don't know anything actually. If you've been watching long enough to figure that out, but.
Thragtusk still makes tokens.
Yeah.
Thragtusk does make tokens.
Parallel Lives that guy out.
Yeah, I'm not sure you want to build your deck around one enchantment that works good when your 5-drop dies, but I don't know. It might be a good incidental effect. But we'll go with the one more deck, and then might take a break and see if I can sort this camera out so we don't look like we're in a bad, kung fu movie. Speak of the devil, Maxx. It was right around, I don't know, the turn of the year maybe, November, early December.
About that time.
That's when the infamous Kessig Wolf Run Ink Moth Nexus combo won the Star City. I think it was Brian Sondag was the name of the gentleman who won the Star City Games Open.
You got to remember, it was fully enabled by Primeval Titan.
Yes, I was getting to that point. It's much like everything else that becomes the most hated deck in the last 3 years of Standard. It's a Primeval Titan deck. And it's very, I'll admit, I mean, at the time I was playing Standard pretty actively. Red cards were still feasible in that format. They weren't good. I was still playing them. But now this is an interaction with Inkmoth Nexus that I never saw. I don't know if anybody else, saw that happening or not, but I thought it was pretty novel. And what's interesting about it is it's a little interaction that you really don't even need to win. I mean, if you're casting Primeval Titan, you're in a pretty good spot.
This was like the plan B if Primeval Titan got killed.
Yeah. Well, it gave you an alternate win condition. I mean, it doesn't attack the normal life total, so you do have that option of, when someone... Remember, Soul Sisters was a deck at one point too, and There's a certain amount of life gain. Worm coils were being played at the time. So, but it's very interesting. It's so good that I even found its way into my old Anima EDH deck because it has a Primeval Titan, so you fetch them out. This, of course, before Primeval Titan was summarily banned.
Yeah.
That combination gave Daybreak Ranger a short stint in the sun. People were flocking to Daybreak Ranger over that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it did. It's just an all-around good card. It's a card that shows up in a lot of queues. It shows up in a lot of EDH decks. I mean, it's another one of those value cards. It's just like Township. Like, it's not really going to affect your deck, and especially in a deck where you have a 6/6 Trampler that tutors for it, and another card that enables basically a next turn win. Seems pretty good. It's just so funny how that deck looked like Valakut for like the first 4 turns, and then it just won through the air. It's just a very interesting thing. Primeval Titan making everyone hate Standard since 2010, so... Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a brief break here. We've got 5 more. We basically made it to December of 2011 in our Standard recap. We'll go through the rest of those in a minute. I'm going to take a break here and see if I can sort out this camera, and then we'll be back shortly.